Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Tuesday evening here at our YouTube channel. Now, as usual, just a few reminders, right? We're part of the team at B'nai Baruch. So our website is Kabbalah.info. And if you're interested in studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, and if you're new to the channel, or if you just dropped out of the sky and found this for some good reason, what you can do is go to Kabbalah.info and actually register for any kind of course you like there at the KabU Academy. And the guys there will love to help you out. And as you can see, well, as you will probably see, if you don't know already, we have students from all around the world, and they'll probably have a few people or several hundreds of people living in your country, depending where you are. So if you want to study with like-minded people, you could always drop into Kabbalah.info and, stick your head in there, right? Because what we have on this YouTube channel is the first foundation courses, semester 1, 2, 3, and also a period where we call the young group. And on top of that, we're just doing excerpts from articles every Tuesday. So what we do every Tuesday is usually for people who've done all of that and are already somewhere studying with a group or are advanced and have some idea of what's going on somewhat anyway. All right, so let's get smashing without any further ado. And we're going to carry on with ruin as an opportunity for correction, right? We're reading selected excerpts. Now, next week, we're going to change. So make a note of what's going to happen next week, Asla, right? We're going to carry on from what we're doing with the Rav in the morning lessons, strengthening ourselves with there's none else besides him. Okay, so make sure you get the excerpts for that. And next week, prepare everyone for that. And you can also give that link to Emre as well, so he can send out the emails. All right, so let's get smashing. And ruin as an opportunity for correction. We're carrying on with item number 12. If you have any questions, as usual, drop them along. We'll try and find an answer within the text. You've got questions, the texts have answers. All right, so we'll see what we can do. Item number 12, the correction of the breaking is the topic. The intention of creation was for all to be one bundle, to do his will, as was said in the Zohar, that Adam Harishon would tell all the created beings, let us bow and kneel and bless the Lord our Maker. But the matter was spoiled because of the sin, until even the best in those generations could not unite together in order to serve the Creator. Rather, they were individuals alone, for one foreign item in a bundle spoils the entire bundle. The correction of this began in the generation of Babylon, when separation occurred in the human race, meaning the beginning of the correction of gathering and assembling people to serve the Creator, which started with Abraham, the patriarch, and his descendants, to have a community gathered to serve the Creator. Abraham would walk and call out the name of the Creator until a great community gathered unto him, who were called the people of the house of Abraham. Thus the matter grew until it became the assembly of the congregation of Israel. And the end of correction will be in the future, when all become one bundle, to do your will wholeheartedly. Now then, that was a mouthful, all right? Because quite a bit of an excerpt here. Now, sometimes when we read stuff, they sound rather upsetting or religious, right? Because it's like we need to serve the Creator, and we need to, what else have we got here? Let us bow and kneel and bless the Lord our Maker, right? So sometimes we don't understand what's going on here. What does it mean to kneel, to serve, to bow, to bless our Maker, as if we are some kind of, I don't know, disgusting creature that was created, and nobody knows what to do with us. And well, if you look at the way we behave, we have to admit we do have some disgusting features, all right? But the whole idea here is this. Obviously, the Creator is not some, egoist that wants us to serve him or wants us to kneel to him and things like that. The whole concept here is this. We as human beings, as individuals, when we're separated, it means we're inside our ego. And when inside our ego, it means we give more importance to ourselves rather than others. Now, when everybody behaves in that way, everybody is like acting like an individual, independent, self-centered cell in a body. Now, if a body functions like that, we'll get cancer, all right? Or we'll get some, I don't know, disease, some kind of sickness. We'll just end up dead. Why? Because the whole body needs to function like one body, right? Despite the fact that it's got hundreds and millions of pieces, cells, tendons, muscles, organs, all kinds of connections between them. And it's a very complicated structure. Still, humanity hasn't figured out what's going on in there. If one part of that body was to just work for its own benefit, the rest of the body would just fall apart, right? Imagine the heart just working for the heart, right? So it's not really going to do anything for the rest of the body, and then we would just collapse and die. So all of the systems in nature, in our body, the whole reality, still, vegetative, animate, everything like works in some kind of sync and harmony where every system or every part of the system supports every other system. Now, humanity doesn't do that because we're egoists. The reason for that is because we have to build that structure ourselves from being completely separated. So this sin of the tree of knowledge, or, when according to the story, when Adam ate the apple, or in some books it's the fig, or in some other book it's a grape, it doesn't matter. What it means is that he started being self-centered and he didn't care about bestowing. And in the books, when we're talking about the Creator, we're not talking about some guy like Father Christmas floating up there in clouds somewhere. All right, that's just not it. The Creator is an attribute. It's like his relation to us. Okay, because we know people according to how they treat us, don't we? We know people through their actions. So knowing the Creator is actually, we can't really know the Creator. We can only know how he's relating to us. And according to that relationship that he has towards us, we can say whether he's good or bad. Right? And that is the concept here. To kneel, to bow, to serve is not really to the Creator, but to his traits, his attributes. And how do they describe him in the books of Kabbalah? As good and doing good. So the Creator is good, that does good, and he's all love, and the act of love is bestowal. Now, when we look at our world, we see something completely different because it's one big mess. All right? It's a one big mess, not because the Creator is in a mess. It's because we're in a mess. Okay. So what happens? What needs to happen, basically? What needs to happen is this. First of all, we need to discover that we're all separated, and this separation causes a big mess. All right? And then what we have to do is clean up our own mess, basically. And this is what it means, that Adam sinned, so we all kind of got separated. Everybody fell into their own self-centered egoism, and everybody stopped thinking about everybody else, and everybody thought about everybody else only if it served their own purpose. Okay, so we came into that little phase in Babylon, and Babylon was where actually the first civilizations were all set up in Mesopotamia region. okay? And because it was all set up there, you can see the whole development of humanity from Babylon onwards has just been from there on. So civilizations grew. As civilizations grew, humanity grew apart. And before, we were all living like one family, one tribe. Everybody was helping each other out. We all understood we were all dependent on each other. Everybody understood their role and that they needed to contribute to the society or to the tribe or to the family. But as societies grew, as interdependence kind of like, well, became less relevant, right, because of, I don't know, economy, culture, countries all of a sudden, and so forth. Also, human egoism was developing. As human ego developed, that's what happened, because human egoism is an increase of self-centeredness. So what's going to happen now? Well, that was the whole sin. That was the whole problem in Babylon. And Abraham was trying to set that right. Unfortunately, he failed. But he did manage to get out of there with a group of people, right? Which they called themselves afterwards the people of Israel. They were first called the house of Abraham. And then afterwards, they took on the name Israel, because Israel means in Hebrew, Yashar El, straight to the Creator. So because they were all from all over the place, okay, because the house of Abraham was like a bunch of people from all kinds of different tribes. So they all joined Abraham, not because they were all from the same tribe or country or area, but they joined him because of an ideology. And that ideology was to come to the purpose and to the meaning of life, right? And that's the whole idea. This is why they called themselves something completely different. First of all, it was the house of Abraham. And then they said, well, what's our aim? What's our intention? What's our direction in life? Well, the direction is we want to get to the Creator, and that's it. So they called themselves, all right, so let's call ourselves Yashar El, straight to the Creator. We're a tribe now, a new group of people called Israel, Yashar El. Okay, and that's where the whole Israel and all kinds of things that follow afterwards come from. Okay, that's the whole root. And so if there was no shattering, if there was no breaking, if there was no segregation in humanity, if there was no explosion of egoism, we'd never actually develop to that phase. Okay, we'd stay with a very small ego that would just serve our existence, which is the same kind of level like an animal. Okay, as you can see, dogs, cats on the street, they don't have a lot of egoism, and they just live according to what they need. But humanity is always striving for more and more and more and more. And if you couple that with our egoistic nature to receive for our own benefit, then it becomes one big mess. So our whole historical development has been an absolute chaos. Okay, and that's basically it. So from the sin of Adam Harishon, where he fell into this egoism, until now, the 21st century, what we're seeing is humanity's development has been basically pushed and forced by the growth of the ego. And that's just how it is. And that's natural, normal, no problem there. Okay. But now we're at a phase where we have to actually, what we have to do as humanity, understand that the way we live currently is not going to work out for us. Okay, because we could just go through another Third World War, another one, God knows how many, and with the weapons we've got right now, I don't think many of us will stand the test of living. Okay, so it's a bit of a drama, but this is how it all began. And now in our generation, the 21st century, we have to understand that we've got to change the way we live. All right, so the whole idea of this breaking and humanity being shattered and having to serve the Creator and so forth is basically our progress, or let's say the process of development, right? Phases of development, where from a bad state, we're trying to get to a good state, and to kneel, to serve the Creator and so forth is just kind of a descriptive state about what we need to strive for. And that aim is to actually bestow like the Creator. All right, and that's where we should be going for, where we should be aiming for anyway. Right, then we're on number 13. Any questions, you give me a heads up, okay? Number 13, Bala, some 600,000 souls. There is indeed only one soul in the world, as it is written, and breathed into his nostrils the soul of life. That same soul exists in all the children of Israel, complete in each and every one, as in Adam Harishon. Since the spiritual is indivisible and cannot be cut, which is rather a trait of corporeal things, rather saying that there are 600,000 souls and sparks of souls appears as though it is divided by the force of the body of each person. In other words, first, the body divides and completely denies him of the radiance of the soul, and by the force of the Torah and the commandments, the body is cleansed, and to the extent of its cleansing, the common soul shines on him. All right, let's read that again. This is from the article 600,000 Souls. You can find all these articles actually also at KabbalahMedia.info, including all the archives and the morning lessons, and they're all there. There's indeed only one soul in the world, as it is written, and breathed into his nostrils the soul of life. That same soul exists in all the children of Israel, complete in each and every one, as in Adam Harishon. Since the spiritual is indivisible and cannot be cut, which is rather a trait of corporeal things. Rather saying that there are 600,000 souls and sparks of souls appears as though it is divided by the force of the body of each person. In other words, first, the body divides and completely denies him of the radiance of the soul, and by the force of the Torah and the commandments, the body is cleansed, and to the extent of its cleansing, the common soul shines on him. Okay, so remember a minute ago, I did mention about a body with a bunch of organs in it and cells and so on, right? So humanity is kind of like that. In fact, not just humanity, the whole of reality is like one created being, okay? And the human level is like at the top of that, right? So the whole concept here is, it's like we're one created being, including the still, vegetative, animate, humans, and so on. And all of that needs to kind of like come to one big harmonious creation. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but obviously, let's say, the only unharmonious part in that is, yes, you guessed it, us, okay? So what he's trying to say here is, despite the fact that I see everything separated, everybody's, doing whatever they feel like, and we're all kind of like causing harm to each other as we try to fulfill our own desire to receive at the expense of others. We're causing all kinds of problems. And it feels like there are 8 billion people on the planet with different souls. But Al-Islam is saying, listen, no, don't think of it like that. Think of all of us as one body. And like everybody are cells and parts of organs of that body. And if we don't have this harmony between us, this unison movement, this unity, this mutual love and care, rather than our egoism, we're always going to feel bad, and the world will just get from bad to worse. So what we have to do is actually, despite the fact that it all seems to me like the whole of humanity is like completely disintegrated and antagonistic and so forth, what we have to do as every individual is kind of like put the puzzle back together and fit ourselves into exactly where we belong and function where we belong as how we should be functioning, instead of egoistically, altruistically. Okay. And if we do that, then we're actually getting the full benefit of the system, rather than running around like a single cockroach that life will stamp on sooner or later. Okay. So the whole idea here is that, as Baal Islam's writing, the Creator actually created one soul. And the reason we're seeing everything in one big mess with all this separations and everything is because we don't feel like we're a part of the system, and we're not functioning well in that part of the system. So we don't feel like we're connected to the system. We feel like we're connected just to ourselves. And as long as we're not feeling that connection with everything else, we can't feel a harmonious, happy, and ongoing joyful life. It's just not going to happen. Okay? So that's the whole concept here. Despite the fact that the world is all divided and everybody thinks they got their own soul and stuff, Baal-Sam says, no, it's just not like that at all. It's just one soul, and we all have a part of it. And the more we advance that soul towards that spiritual objective, we can all, benefit from it. Right? And that one soul can nurture all the parts if we all look after the general soul. So everybody, just like every cell has a function in the body, or every organ has a function in the body, all of us have a function. And we need to make sure we function well. Right, yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at item number 14. This is from the same article. Let's get a drink of water. Right then. Again, from the same article, 600,000 souls of Baal Salam. 2 discernments were made in the corporeal body. In the first discernment, one feels one's soul as a unique organ and does not understand that this is the whole of Israel. In the second discernment, the true light of the soul of Israel does not shine on him in all its power of illumination, but only partially. By the measure, he has purified himself by returning to the collective. The sign for the body's complete correction is when one feels that one's soul exists in the whole of Israel, in each and every one of them, for which he does not feel himself as an individual, for one depends on the other. At that time, he is complete, flawless, and the soul truly shines on him in its fullest power as it appeared in Adam Harishon. All right, so let's read that again. 2 discernments were made in the corporeal body. Now, the body, when they talk about body in the wisdom of Kabbalah, we're talking about a desire to receive. Okay, so don't think of the body as your meat and flesh, because that's just going to end up dead. All right, just like, if you get your t-shirt, if it's an old t-shirt and it's got rips and stuff all over it, you throw it in the bin. The body is the same kind of thing. It gets old, you use it, you abuse it, and then you dump it in the bin. Okay, it's the same kind of thing here. So when it's talking about the corporeal body, we're talking about corporeality means the desire to receive for oneself. That's what a corporeal body is. In the first discernment, one feels one's soul as a unique organ and does not understand that this is the whole of Israel. All right, so I'm just looking at things from my perspective. I don't feel like I depend on others, and I don't feel like others depend on me. I'm an individualist. That's how I'm feeling. All right, that's the discernment, first discernment. In the second discernment, the true light of the soul of Israel does not shine on him in all its power of illumination, but only partially. By the measure, he has purified himself by returning to the collective. Now, in the second discernment, I have achieved some kind of connection, and that some kind of connection is also enough to illuminate to me. The sign of the body's complete correction. Now, the body's complete correction means the intention to receive for myself's complete correction is when one feels that one's soul exists in the whole of Israel, in each and every one of them, for which he does not feel himself as an individual, for one depends on the other. At that time, he is complete, flawless, and the soul truly shines on him in its fullest power as it appeared in Adam Harishon. So the whole idea of humanity is our first discernment here is when we're feeling like an individual. This individual feeling and sensation will soon realize as humanity progresses forward that this is actually a very incomplete, a flawed, unsuccessful way of living. Right? We're going to realize by the world's impact and life's effect on us that we're all completely dependent on each other, right? And as we get to there, this is the second discernment, the more I feel connected to everybody else, obviously, the more of that light I'm attracting and I'm feeling like I'm more a part of the system. Then I don't feel like I have an individual soul. Then I feel like I have a place in the soul. All right. So I'm like a good functioning part of the soul. And the more I function properly for the benefit of the whole body, then the greater the light I'm getting. Okay. I'm actually also helping the whole body get corrected. And that's how it is. So, and the end of correction is when we all get there. So we have to make this individual effort to get there, which is our individual correction. But our individual correction also contributes to the correction of the whole, since we're all part of the system, right? So the more people get in there and start correcting themselves and integrating themselves into that system where we're connected, then the whole system is kind of like healing. Right? It's like getting better and better and better. And that's exactly why we need to, as much as we can, try to correct ourselves and also help others get corrected as well. All right? Helping others is also a great part of the correction of our souls as well, because at the end of the day, we're doing something for others for their own benefit, not our own benefit. Okay. Okay. Now then, we've got 15. We all good? Everybody's happy? All right. Lukete halachot. This is item number 15. The vitality, sustenance, and correction of the whole of creation is mainly by people of differing views, becoming included together in love, unity, and peace. Once again, let's read that. The vitality, sustenance, and correction of the whole of creation is mainly by people of differing views becoming included together in love, unity, and peace. Now, that's really good, because look at us all. Everybody look at the camera. You'll all see that we have all different faces. Okay, isn't that amazing? 8 billion people, they're all different from each other. What does that tell you? It means the way we look at life is different. The way we see things are different. The way we think, our desires, our intentions, we're all different, right? We're all unique. And because we're all unique and different, what makes reality really rich is if we all get together in love, unity, and peace. Okay, because then we all get the benefit of everybody's special attribute, which does not exist in anybody else. So, right, for example, whatever attributes and traits you have, they don't exist in anybody else like they exist in you. So everybody in itself, in their own way, are very unique. And this uniqueness has to be maintained. Right? So we can't hate people because they think differently. Why? Because that's actually a good thing. Because if we all thought the same things, imagine how exciting our life would be. Not very exciting at all. All right. So what we need is this variety. And this is why there's so many different kind of, planets, stars, fossils, rocks, all kinds of elements in life that belong to still. And then imagine all the different flowers and plants and trees, so many varieties of them. Right? Why would the creator need so many varieties? Just create grass and that's it. Okay, and you can nibble on that for vegetables, right? It's coming to that soon, pretty soon. Okay, and animals, how many different kinds of animals there are? See, from little insects, these little animals, into these elephants. Okay, so same with humanity. All of us, just like our faces are different, our traits are different, the way we think, feel, look at life are different. If we were to all bring those differences together, not in order to profit and satisfy our own self, but if we were to bring it together and use all our differences in order to bestow to the common good of everyone, imagine what kind of a place this planet would be. We'd be in heaven, pretty much. The smartest people in the world are working in the defense industry, trying really hard to discover ways on how we can kill people more effectively and efficiently. Imagine if those geniuses were all coming together and thinking about how effectively they could develop technology to get rid of all the, I don't know, the poverty, the hunger, you know, making things equal for everyone so we can share them, and, you know, we could just look after each other and we can all have a great life. I guess they won't, because there's no money in that. Oh, yeah. Instead, we're all going to kill each other and end reality. And that's where it's going. Okay. So as you can see, humanity is not really very smart. On the one hand, they're very smart. On the other hand, though, the way we use our smartness is really stupid. Do you understand the contradiction? All right. So on the one hand, we can do, you know, a lot of great things. On the other hand, though, because our intention is egoistic, we use all our good qualities for destruction and never for the benefit of humanity. Even the good things we develop, we're just developing them for what? Money. Money, money, money. All right. So that's just how it is. And as long as we function in that way, nothing's really going to come out of humanity until we change. Only suffering will bring us to an understanding, and that could really be terrible suffering for humanity, like really bad stuff, so that everybody could be drastically in some internal turmoil. It doesn't have to be like a bloody war or something, you know, something, you know, very destructive. We could all be going through states where we're internally all in a turmoil. I mean, look at the 21st century and Western society. A lot of people are like depressed. Okay, we have all kinds of mental illnesses from all ages now. Every age has some kind of mental disorder. So suffering doesn't have to be all, you know, war and stuff. It could be very traumatic, very dramatic, and very, very, you know, painful internally for a person, right? So, yeah, until we learn how to change, unfortunately, life is going to push us the hard way. Right, then, item number 16. All our work in prayers and practical commandments is to sort once more and raise all those souls that fell from Adam Harishon into the shells. The shells means the evil inclination, right? Bad side, until they're brought to their first root as they were in it before he sinned with the tree of knowledge. Okay, so all we have to do is discover really who we really are. The wisdom of Kabbalah is a very pragmatic science. It's a science because if you study it, you'll be able to examine yourself. Okay, what is science? It's examination of cause and consequence, right? So you can examine your own self, and from that examination, come to your personal conclusions about your nature and how you function, and how your nature has incompatibilities with the general flow of nature. And when both of those collide and they're not in unison or harmony, you get problems in life. So if you're ever wondering why you're suffering, it's because you're out of whack, all right? You're out of balance, and you're not in sync with the laws of nature. And therefore, life has to, by force, push you by pinching you or slapping you or giving you a kick, so that you can actually sort yourself out. Now, if you don't understand how life is talking to you, you're just going to keep getting hit. Yeah, it's just how it is, right? Until you get to a breaking point, and life will break everyone. Whether they're rich or poor, it doesn't matter. Why? Because the laws of nature are equal for everyone. Okay, even if I have everything in life, I can never get pleasure from everything I have, because the desire and the fulfillment cancel each other out. So even if you're the richest guy on the planet, you still have to search for another fulfillment and another one after that and another one after that. It could just drive you nuts. Okay, and it will. So it really doesn't matter. So we're looking at life and we're thinking life is not equal. It doesn't have to be equal. The laws of nature are working equally on everyone. That's what's equal. Equal doesn't mean we're all rich, we're all smart. Equal means that life is treating everyone according to the same laws of nature. That's it. So life is fair. It's fair. It's fair. Because if a baby falls off a cliff and he didn't know that he was going to die because it's a little toddler, he fell, he died. A 30, 40-year-old guy knows if he falls, he's going to die. He falls, he dies as well. Is nature equal? Nature is equal to everyone. Okay? Whether you understand and get the message or whether you don't, nature doesn't care. That's just how it is. So basically our whole work means that I analyze myself, I evaluate myself. And on top of that evaluation, I come to a prayer. A prayer isn't like what those religious people do out there on the street. A prayer in the wisdom of Kabbalah is an understanding that I need to change something in me. However, I don't have the ability to change me, but I have a big desire for that change. That's what a prayer is. A prayer is something I lack and I just don't have the capacity to do it myself. This is how a person turns to the Creator. Why is that important? Why doesn't the Creator just give us the ability to fix ourselves when we see that we have a fault somewhere? Well, then you'd never have any connection with the Creator in the first place. This is why kids always want things from their parents to see how they grow. You know, your mum, when you're a baby, is like your God because you get everything from your mum. She's your God. That's it. You cry, she knows what to do. She's looking after you, feeding you, cleaning you. That's it. Everything about you, she knows. She's your God. So here as well, why? In order to build that connection, the small has to want, has to kind of like connect with the upper. How? Through the desire to receive. And that is what we need to correct so we can have that correct connection with the Creator. Okay, and that's the whole idea. So the prayer is actually from the work that I'm doing, in the environment. And I begin to understand where my egoistic nature is ruling. And I begin to see that I have a need to change that because it's just like causing harm. Right? It's not just causing harm to everybody else, it's causing harm to me too. Because my egoism is like shooting me in the foot every day with this wild way of behavior. Okay, so we begin to understand our nature, and by studying the wisdom of Kabbalah as well, we begin to understand the general laws of nature. So then I'm left in this balancing act between my nature and the general laws of nature, and I begin to clarify where I need to change, what I need to stop doing as well. Okay, and all of that comes from the study. So when it's talking about commandments and praying and all this kind of stuff, don't think of it like some religious guy out there on the street, because it has absolutely nothing to do with it. All of these concepts religions got from the wisdom of Kabbalah. All right, a prayer is a good, right desire to change my evil nature, which I've clarified and I've seen and I understood what it's like, and I need that changed. Okay, that's what it is. And that's where the work should really bring us towards. Okay, otherwise, what's the point of working? We can't just pray to the Creator for all kinds of gigs and gadgets, because it's just not going to work out for you. All right, so the Creator wants to give us everything, but we have to be capacitated to receive everything. Okay, it's like we can't give kids everything they want, because they just don't have the capacity to use it correctly at the moment. So same with the Creator. So we have to grow up, and this, this is what the whole work, the study is all about. It's when we work, when we study the wisdom of Kabbalah, and we've like integrated ourselves into the environment to grow ourselves from scratch and to elevate and raise ourselves to a new perspective. And that's, and that new perspective is what we're trying to build, like looking at things, not from our desire to receive for ourselves, but saying, well, wait a minute, let me just put that aside for a moment and let me try to look at reality from a different perspective and see how it changes, because reality changes according to how I look at it. And the only way you can, let's say, differentiate between those 2 points is, one, if you've got your egoistic nature, which we all have, and second is the dot in the heart, that special desire which wants to elevate itself to the next level. So then what you're actually doing is like you're observing your nature from 2 sides all the time, your egoistic nature, and according to the study, how you would like it to be, right? So then you've got the state you're in and the state you're aiming for, right? So then according to that vision, you can bridge the gap and get the help you need through a prayer. And a prayer is, like I said, the desire to change, but to change to a correct form. Okay. Right, it's 8:43. I think we're all good. And everybody's quiet on the Western Front. Okay, not to worry, guys. That's all good. Next week, like I said, we're going to carry on with something else, something new. But I hope these also, like, we've been doing this for a few weeks, right? So since we're at 16, we must be doing it for a few weeks. The important thing is this, right? What we need to take as a ruin, as an opportunity, is like, it's like children, like when they break things, they understand how things are fragile. Okay, when they fall, they understand that, there is a necessity to get up and carry on walking. We don't have kids in the world who try to walk and then they fall down and then they say, well, I'm not going to try walking anymore because I fell, and it's just not a good experience. Okay, so I'm just going to keep crawling for the rest of my life. Okay, they don't say that. They just keep getting up again, falling down again, get up again, fall down again, until they, get the hang of it. And for us, it's the same kind of thing, really. Okay, so what we have to do is, every time we see our egoistic nature getting the best of us, it's an opportunity for us to kind of like dig into it, discern it, and, think about what I'd like to be instead of that. And by doing so, we're actually then able to build something from the opposite. Okay, so by discovering that our egoistic nature is causing us harm, I'm actually able to build something good, something the opposite of egoism. So despite the fact that we don't feel any altruism in its like real pure form as discussed in the wisdom of Kabbalah, what we can discover in our state is how bad our condition is, and then relate to its opposite and say, well, what would be the opposite of the bad situation I'm in right now? Okay, and if I do that, then I have an opportunity to bridge this gap of where I am and where I'd like to be. And, like I said, these discernments only happen if I get myself into the study and just work on it. This is why Kabbalah, the wisdom of Kabbalah, is a science, because it's a very individual approach to examining myself. And you will not have any success if any psychologists or psychiatrists or whatever is evaluating you, because they will never really know how you feel. They won't. How can they? Everybody's perceiving life from their own vessel. This is why psychology will never work. Okay, it won't work. They'll just give you drugs. The reason they invented psycho drugs is because psychology and psychiatry does not work. Okay, so this is how it is. Unfortunately, in order to understand ourselves, our current selves, we have to go one level up and look down. Just like as children growing up, we don't know whether we're growing up. No kid is aware of the fact that they're growing up. They're just living day to day. Same with us. So in order to understand what it's like, I have to elevate myself to the next level, and then I can start changing all the dysfunctional things that exist. All right, so I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, as we study more and more, it will make sense. All right, it will make sense, because laws of nature are very observable, are very solid. And if we look at them correctly, if we evaluate them correctly, and then we can just take lessons from that as well. we can all know everything just by observing laws of nature. In the interim, you guys have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you guys next time. All right, all the best. Bye-bye.